Sure.
That's not what the first place payout is supposed to be.
No. What was it, like 10 grand? Probably.
Yeah, you can tell me it was 20 and I'd believe that. It was 10.
Yo, what is going on? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage. I'm Dave Loughran. On the Twitters at Lafayette_D, LOUGHY_D, joined by Joshua Engelman at Josh Engelman. Hit the man up while you're at it, along with Awesemo_com. Here to break down a single game showdown slate between the Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets, who now have upgraded James Harden from out to doubtful. They're a little nervous about this one, Josh, and they probably should be, but it just seems unfair to the Nets, no matter how much I don't like that team.
Yeah, I just don't want things like this to happen to any team. I just want everybody to be able to play at full strength so that when everyone wins or loses, you don't have any excuses when you want to talk a lot of smack. And this bothers me because the Nets look fantastic. When all three of those guys are out there, it's really, really difficult to deal with. And now the most likely scenario is it's Kevin Durant against the big three from the Bucks. And I don't know how he possibly salvages that with the rest of the people that are on the Nets.
You know, if I'm a Sixers fan, right, say they get through this series, and I am, and they were to beat, say, the Nets in the next round, just hypothetically speaking, without Harden and Irving, I'm not gloating about that. You know, I'm not reveling in that. And if you're a Bucks fan right now, you should be for sure counting your lucky stars, and you'll take wins any way they come. Yep. But there's no doubt about it that, like, this Bucks team was about to get trounced if Brooklyn was even 2/3 of the way healthy.
Yeah, it wasn't looking good. They looked like they got figured out. Look, even in game 3, regardless of the injury, I didn't think Milwaukee looked good. They won that game, but I came away from that thinking like, oh, the Nets got him. And then Kyrie happens, and then it's a legitimate problem. And now it's Mike James, Jeff Green, Tyler Johnson, Blake Griffin. I mean, Kevin Durant's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his plate, and so does Joel Embiid after that last game. We're happy to have all of you guys with us. Thank you for tuning in. As always, hit that thumbs up. Make it the first thing you do as you jump in here. Already like half of the people in the room have done so. Those are the ride or die Awesemo OGs, Josh, and we appreciate them. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're coming in late after we air, what's up? Hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. It helps us out a ton with the algorithm. We can keep putting out free content, better this product, and it helps you. You always know when new stuff goes live, when new stuff drops. So we're covered on both ends of that one. Hit the notification bell. And if you want to join as an Awesemo YouTube member here, join the team, hit that little join now button, get the avatars, get the emojis, and some other stuff that we've got coming down the pipeline soon. I promised you that. I didn't forget about you. So yeah, you see those badges in chat. Those are all of our YouTube Awesemo members. And the team just keeps growing here, so you love to see it. Anyway, man, Joel Embiid yesterday shoots 0 for 12 in the second half. 0 for 12. If Embiid just shoots 1 for 12, makes that layup, they probably don't lose that game, right? Like, it was really bad. And I'm willing to look at this and say Joel had an awful game. Defensively, he was fine. He rebounded well, but he had a horrible game. And I'm not one to make excuses, but I can't help but think, how much is this knee bothering him? He went and got treatment on it in the first half, came back, was grimacing, was body language looked awful all game. Do you think he just had an awful, terrible off night? Or do you think that knee was legitimately bothering him, coming up short on every single shot he took?
Knee was very clearly bothering him. I didn't like the way that he was playing in the second half. I mean, he was flopping all over the place, looking to grab any call he could because his only saving grace was getting to the line. He was 8 of 8 from the line yesterday. Like, his best bet was shooting free throws. Probably was begging for it a little bit too much, which wasn't helping him at all. And when you're looking for contact or like trying to exaggerate contact, you're also not taking that shot as cleanly as you want to. I think that probably doesn't help either. But no, he's not right. Look, I think it helped a lot to get a little bit of rest coming into this series. And he looked worse and worse and worse as every single game has gone on. I don't think it's going to get any better. You know, they're off today. They're back tomorrow. I can't imagine he's going to come out looking fresh as a daisy. So they're in a little bit of trouble.
They are. I think ultimately the problem here is if Joel Embiid just had an off game and maybe he needs a day or two to get that knee right again. Although, mind you, they had 2 days off before this game. Then they'll be fine. They'll come in and they'll smoke him. It'll be a 6-game series. But
look, when push comes to shove, here's all that matters. They're minus 315 to win the series. So whatever we think is actually the problem, they're still 70-30 to take this one home. So we are nervous a little bit, but if they drop this game, it's basically a coin flip to win the series still.
Yeah, right. And they get the last game at home, which I think definitely makes a difference there, being at the Wells Fargo Center. But yeah, look, once again, with the Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks, take it for what it's worth. We've got that game tonight, and we'll talk about the injury news in a moment. With the 76ers, the Hawks got to win no matter what. Embiid didn't play well. He played like shit, actually, but the Hawks still found a way to win, and you have to credit them for that, right? They still did a good enough job to get the win. Nate McMillan and company made some adjustments, and they're bringing it to a game 5 and ultimately a game 6. So credit the Hawks. Obviously, I am of the belief that if Joel Embiid was at 100%, that game is never coming down to the wire. But Hawks can't control that. They can only control what's in front of them. So there you have it. And yesterday, too, we talked about the Jazz being 5-point dogs. This is a 2-2 series now. The Clippers have now come back 0-2 in the first series against Dallas to knot it up and then win in 7. And then 0-2 against the Utah Jazz, the 1-seed Utah Jazz, to bring this game to at least 6. And I've got to tell you, I'd be shocked if this doesn't go to 7 games.
I wouldn't.
You're about to say you think the Clippers
I'm team
can
Clippers,
win in
though.
6?
It wouldn't shock me.
It should, though, because if I went back and checked, and I could be wrong, Josh, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but the odds that a team goes from 0-2 to 4-2 has to be minuscule.
Yeah, but you can't look at it like that any longer because they're not 0-2 anymore.
Right, but you still have to win 4 straight games, so I can look at it that way.
Yeah, you do, but we can't look at the probability of them winning the next 2 games as if they're still down 0-2 and got to do all 4. Like, yes, it would have been low from the start, but now it's not.
Right, but you still have to look at it as a probability that they win 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row against the number 1 seed, no?
Yeah, but at this point in time, the chances of them winning games 5 and 6 are what, like 20%?
I guess. You really see it as like Utah might not win another game in this series?
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I mean, look,
you think that the Clippers are that much better than them?
No, I don't. Like, Utah is still the favorite in this series.
Yeah.
But the odds of the Clippers winning the next 2 games are like pretty sizable in the grand scheme of things. It's like a pitcher getting a hit.
Yeah, I guess. Pecan. Welcome to Team Awesemo, brother. Nice to have you here. Pecan or pecan, Josh?
It's interesting for me as someone who grew up for 20 plus years in the North and now live firmly in the South. The technical pronunciation of that word has changed. It's actually neither to me because I don't eat it. So I don't care at all how to pronounce it.
All right. Well, that's a shitty answer.
But it's the true answer. I've never had a slice of either one of those pronunciations, pies, and I don't know anybody that eats those nuts on their own.
I don't eat avocado, but I could tell you that I know how to pronounce it.
We don't pronounce it 2 separate ways across the country.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. I'm asking how you pronounce it.
I don't pronounce it. I'm never in a situation where it comes up.
Just say it.
I'm trying to think of a third way.
I don't know why you're making this difficult. Say it.
Because I don't know how I say it. I never say it.
Just say it and see what comes out.
Well, I don't know. Pecan.
Was that too hard?
Yes.
My God.
Well, hearing you say it is like changing the way that I think about it in my head. So I didn't know what my answer was.
I'm just asking to just do it. Snap decision. I'm not asking you to meticulously plan out in your head how you're going to say a word.
Because I didn't know what I got confused. It was hard.
Okay.
It's been two different things in my life.
So, all right. We don't know how to pronounce pecan or pecan. If I were to just say it, I'd say pecan, I think, but I don't know. That's just what came out, but that's just what came out. See, I at least tried.
Well, yeah, I don't like trying.
And you think the Clippers win this in 6? That should be our dyed hair bet. I say the Jazz get another win.
Yeah, no. No, the series itself is a decent coin flip bet.
Yeah, that's actually really good. It's
not. There's no way I'm hanging my hat on the Clippers, man. Absolutely not.
What'd you say?
I am not going to bat with the Clippers.
No?
No, that's a look. That may be close to a 50-50 split here.
You've been backing the Clippers all playoffs.
Yeah, and I would happily bet on them, but I won't bet my appearance.
Okay. That's fair. You want to talk a little bit of basketball for tonight's slate?
Take it or leave it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm in.
All right. Before we do, hit up our sponsor, No House Advantage. Doing great things over there. Check them out if you haven't done so yet. It's peer-to-peer player prop platform. So unlike other sites where you have a salary cap and each player costs a certain amount of money, you got to keep it under $50,000, $60,000. Here it's player props going into your lineup just as you would in any GPP style contest. For real cash prizes, of course, against your peers. Very same thing, except without the salary cap, you've got player props. You're taking the over, you're taking the under, whichever one you want. You're putting the ones you like the most at the top of your lineup. They win. They get more points on being right. The ones you have less faith in get less points. You put them at the bottom. And the cool thing about this is really the most important thing isn't the fact that you get a $20 deposit bonus when you sign up using the promo code Awesemo, which is true, but also that all of the tools that we have for No House Advantage at awesemo.com are entirely free. Talking about the player prop tool where you have our props, our projections for these tools and the player props over at No House Advantage, ours up against them. You get to do that research totally for free, 365 days out of the year, 24/7. You have the optimal lineups tool as well. All of the stuff to help you make your job easier over at No House Advantage. And Josh, the best part, they're static. The lines don't change ever. You know,
it makes things so much easier for you because 20% of the people that are looking at that probably don't realize that. Let them pay the rake on a day-to-day basis.
Right. So when people say, well, everyone's going to notice that, don't give your opposition that much credit. Sometimes you just can't do it. There are going to be people that don't know that these lines aren't changing along with other books throughout the day, that you can go and look at oddshopper.com, pull up the prop and see where it's at on every other book entirely for free and say, oh my God, this is way off from where it was. I'll give you an example, Josh, and I'm not saying this is going to come to fruition today, but it's very possible that it could. Kevin Durant, 35.5 points. James Harden went from out to doubtful. If he ends up playing, I'm not saying that Kevin Durant can't still go for 35.5 points, but that wouldn't change. I guarantee you every single other book pulls that prop off immediately upon word of James Harden, not No House Advantage.
Yeah, by default, look, if you think that Kevin Durant is projected for 35.5 real points today, and then James Harden gets ruled in, one of two things is true. Either you're about to get a much better line, or you're really bad at projecting points because Kevin Durant's have to go down in that case.
Yep, exactly.
Those are the only options.
So check it out. Go to nohouseadvantage.com, download it in the App Store and the Google Play Store, wherever you want. Use that promo code Awesemo, get your sign-up bonus, and of course, use all the tools free to you at awesemo.com and take advantage of the fact that these props do not change throughout the day. All right, let's kick it off. The Milwaukee Bucks, 4.5-point road favorites, 217 total. What would you put this line at if Harden, Irving, and Durant were all active today?
God.
I think I have a pretty decent one.
If they're all active, it's probably like Nets minus 1.5.
Oh, really? See, I would have it Nets minus probably 4.5.
That's a big swing.
Yeah, but so is Harden and Irving.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Like, they're worth more than 3 points combined. Oh, you're saying Nets minus 1.5, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, the Bucks would not be favored. Yeah, I'm probably a little light, maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
There's an answer to this if we want it. I don't have the time right now.
That's okay. I was just curious what your thoughts were. It's just such a massive impact, but the Bucks are laying 4.5, 217 total with no Irving. James Harden went from out to doubtful. He's going to test his hamstring. That seems like a recipe for disaster. If I'm being honest.
He's not playing.
What?
He's not playing.
There's no way,
not playing.
Right? No. Like, I mean, it just sounds like a horrible idea. I would rather go into this game with just Kevin Durant and say, you know what, if we lose it, we lose it. And then potentially get James Harden back and win games 6 and 7, which I think is entirely possible if you are the Brooklyn Nets.
I don't think we're seeing him regardless.
Neither do I, but I'm saying if he's going to test it out, you better be sure that he's 100% or at least 95%. Because if he's 90%, it probably means by game 6, he's going to be there. And then you've got James Harden that can help you win and is not risking re-aggravating that injury.
It's just one of those things where there's no upside for them to leave him out. You put him doubtful by default. And he goes out there, takes a couple steps. We realize his hamstring is cooked and we find out immediately that he ain't going out there. I would be beyond shocked if James Harden played in this game today.
So would I.
It would blow my mind.
Yep. I'd be way more surprised that he plays than if Conley played yesterday. And I felt pretty confident. I think we both did that there was no way Conley was going to play that game.
No, not at all. And I can't see us. I don't expect to see Harden in this series again. Maybe game 7. And I just don't know how they get to game 7 in that case. Cause I don't think we're seeing Kyrie either.
I was going to say, I would be more surprised if Irving played than if Harden played, but it's hard to believe that either of them play.
Yeah, right. Look, if Kyrie is already out and they can at least move Harden to doubtful, Harden's got to be ahead of Kyrie.
Right. It's not good. I mean, it's not good at this point, and
no,
that's why they're getting 4.5 points at home after both games at home against Milwaukee were. I mean, we looked at and I can't wait for people on Twitter just piss me off, man. They just piss me off. Yeah. The inability to take in the whole picture, and just kind of extrapolate whatever data you're looking for outside of actually saying, okay, let me take everything in, right? Like, I told you the Bucks weren't out of this series, dude. Yeah. Okay. Kevin Durant goes down. The Bucks can win 4 straight. You didn't do anything but get things wrong and then get lucky.
Harden and Irving got taken out by a sniper, man. I didn't see that one coming.
Exactly. If Irving is, I can't say for sure, but if Irving doesn't get hurt in game 4, the Nets probably have a 3-1 lead here. But again, I can't say for sure, Josh. And the Bucks did hold up. The thing is, the only game the Bucks won, the only game the Bucks won where Irving and Durant were both healthy was the final shot or the game-winning shot by Chris Middleton, like in Milwaukee in a must-win game. And they still almost lost that after being up by almost 20 in the first quarter. So, forgive me if I don't see this as a Bucks team that can compete against even a halfway healthy Nets squad.
Yeah, it's just a weird series altogether. Like, to think that the Bucks are 4-point favorites today is pretty wild. And they should be
really wild.
And I don't know, should it be more? What can the Nets do today to win this series? What has to happen? Somebody's got to go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's got to be someone other than Durant too, because there's no way he does it all on his own.
Oh no. I mean, you kind of let him get his and let him tire himself out of it.
Yeah. Curse of the Blitz says, just people on Twitter, people in general are kind of flippant. Yeah. But the thing about Twitter is the anonymity factor.
Yep.
And it just, You can shit on anybody. You're an immediate expert. You're a doctor. You're a scientist because you have Google. It's a whole lot different when you're having that conversation in person. Most people that are assholes on Twitter, at least this is my assumption, Josh, probably might be assholes in real life, but face to face, they're unlikely to say a lot of the stuff to you, if not all of it, that they would say on Twitter. Just my thinking.
A lot of those people don't get face to face with other human beings all that frequently.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, just all agoraphobics.
Yeah, the only way they're getting face to face is if you show up on their doorstep. And even then, I'm going to have to open the door.
Right. And they probably still won't. Still won't.
Police I'll have to step over all of the stuff that they've been hoarding.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever seen that show?
More than I would ever want to again in my life.
I've almost
like, oh, this is the dirty diaper room. And it's like, okay, I'm out.
I've their own diapers.
Usually, sometimes it's just like, those are the diapers for the cat.
Yeah, right. But like some people, I watched one where they would shit in their own diapers and save all of them.
Yeah. There's also people that show up on those weird ass shows that eat diapers.
Yeah. My strange addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've almost
the one chick that ate her entire couch. I was like, what are we doing here? How do we find these people? What do we give them for this show? $500 or just a new couch?
You saw that one where they ate the couch cushions?
Yeah. I think it's the same episode where the guy bangs his own car. I wish I were joking. Like that was a made up thing too. It's not. He's just sitting on the ground with his legs under the front, licking the front hood.
Would he stuff it in the muffler?
I don't know if that's true, but that's exactly where a fleshlight would go.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. There was one where she would just huff Pine Sol for all day, crazy stuff. I don't know how we got on this top. Oh, I guess I do.
Yeah, you and I started the show.
Went off base a little bit there. Hey, back to the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo. The ownership here, and this is something that you had actually mentioned before we got started today, is going to be just truly absurd. And for obvious reasons. Neither of us expect James Harden to play, even if he's upgraded. Listen, Josh, he's not upgraded to questionable. He's upgraded to doubtful. So
yeah, that's barely an upgrade.
It doesn't mean a damn thing. But ownership on Kevin Durant and on Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be massive today. The question really is how easy, and it's seemingly very easy, is it to just plug both of them in and fill the rest of your lineup out with value?
I mean, you basically have to. So on FanDuel, I have Kevin Durant and Giannis in the aggregate 93% of the time in the MVP spot, which is
that's crazy.
Bonkers. Giannis has 98% ownership on FanDuel. Durant has 91. For all intents and purposes, they are the two guys that are going to be in the MVP and the star spot almost exclusively. On DraftKings, it's obviously a little bit different. Giannis is at 91% ownership. Kevin Durant is at 85. I agree with both of those numbers. 77% of optimals for my calculations had one of those two guys in the captain spot. It's less than that from ownership or in our ownership projection. So I'd be saying play more of Durant and Giannis in that captain spot. I think that is the sort of way that we need to go. I don't know how you make a case to go to your only shot if you're trying to fade this duo is to hope that they like punch each other in the face on the tip.
That's kind of the issue, right? I mean, getting away from this is, and we've talked about fades on high-priced elite players before.
Yeah.
But in a spot like this, it feels impossible to get away from. And the thing is, too, on DraftKings, if you're just looking at these prices, you're not going to love what you come up with after Kevin Durant and Giannis. But how many people are going to come up with that exact same lineup? Like, of course, the whole idea of fading Giannis and Durant seems insane, and it's not something I'm recommending, right? I'm not. But how many of the lineups are going to look exactly the same? Because it's different than when you build like a balanced lineup where you can do a million different things with it. But when you plug two of these guys in on a showdown slate where rotations are already cut down in the postseason in a game 5 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals, how many options do you really have?
Not a lot. Like not a lot at all. It's going to be very, very difficult for me to think any one of these guys have a chance to not be in an optimal lineup, barring an injury. So I just took my projections, dropped them in DraftKings. No randomness, just 100 lineups. Where do they show up? Giannis shows up in 40% in the captain spot and 60% not in the captain spot. So all 100. Durant is at 35% and 65%. That's all 100 lineups that were created. They are in both of them the entire way. And I'm not shocked. Like, that's just going to kind of, like, it has to be it. You're hoping that things get really weird. If you're trying to chop with the least amount of people today, you're hoping today gets weird and you get the bench guy correct. That's it. You're hoping it's the Alize Johnson day.
Right, exactly. And that Alize Johnson day, if you remember, Alize Johnson had that huge game. People played Nick Claxton. I forget who it was. Huge double-double. I mean, he doubled in the first half. This is regular season.
Yep.
And then he was chalked the next game and did nothing. And
he dropped 56 DK points.
Yeah. What did he drop the next game?
He had 23.5, which was still like, oh, that worked.
That's not terrible. I guess I'm misremembering. I thought maybe it was the third game where people kept playing him and he just kind of
he had 5 in that one.
Yeah,
but he only played 3 minutes. I don't remember the logistics.
That must have been it. But also Mike James had that big game. People play him the next day and he did nothing.
Yeah.
So these are both Nets players, and I bring that up not because of the regular season, but because weird things can happen. And on a night like this, the weird things you're kind of hoping that it doesn't happen with Giannis or Durant, because even, it's funny, even if you don't play them or one of them, you do have Middleton, you have Holiday, but you have nobody else for Brooklyn. Like there's nobody else for Brooklyn that can come close to making sense for one of those fades is the issue here.
No, not at all. And I think like the natural fade discussion is going to end up being, I'll play Kevin Durant and then I'll play Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. Yeah, exactly. Which is like, people are going to be like, oh, I'm onto one here. You're not really. And you're probably making a significantly worse lineup just in general. Oh, good God. It's just, part of me loves it. Part of me loves it because I think you do have the opportunity to make some truly weird lineups if you want to try to be ultra different. But at the same time, the likelihood of Kevin Durant and Giannis being in the same lineup in an optimal together is like 90%.
Yeah, there's not really a way to get around that. And I think instead of us going game by or team by team at this point, it's really just, it's the strategy show for a reason, Josh. It makes more sense to talk about how to build lineups here. And maybe one way to do things a little bit differently. And not only that, but Buddy Rose says, Joel Embiid crybaby, LMFAO. Yeah, agreed. He was flopping all over the place yesterday. I think
By the way, I think Buddy Rowe is a bot, just FYI.
Yeah, either that or just an asshole that's trying to get people's attention. I'm not sure.
Well, he said Hawks versus trash like 25 times yesterday. And also again today. And I don't know what that means.
He's saying the Sixers are trash. He just wanted attention. I think that's what it is. I don't think he's about it. I think he just wanted attention.
Well, I got a different word for what I think that is, but I don't think I'm allowed to use it anymore because it's 2021.
Does it start with an R?
It could.
Oh. A real jerk.
Yep. Nailed it.
Yeah. What was I talking about? I know.
The R word.
Yeah. How this show it's better suited to really just talk about like what ways to get different. And the question too is you and I actually discussed this before the show as well. And it's important. Are you changing your approach when it comes to how willing you are to be duped in lineups and how willing you are to make kind of drastic moves to make your lineup stand out in these showdown slates for NBA? Talk on that a little bit, because it's so important.
Maybe. And I don't know, because I've been having this discussion on the back end with Adam for a while of where that cutoff point is for whether or not that lineup can still be plus EV based on how many duplications you expect in the lineup. And we're sort of on different wavelengths, but at the same time, I think we both agree that there is a cutoff at some point in time. I tend to get away from it a little bit more. Adam has been nuking slates as of late by not doing that. And he has been up quite considerably over this past week and a half, literally based on not doing that and that same discussion that we've been having. So it's running pretty hot for him at this moment. But last night is a great example. 318.5 was the score that chopped pretty aggressively in every contest on DraftKings. That was my cash lineup. I did not play that in a GPP because it gets cut out by being slightly too owned in relationship to what I thought the odds were of it being the optimal. I don't know right now whether I'm right or wrong for drawing the line in the sand at that point. I have a couple mechanisms that I'm going to look at that I've talked to Adam about that we think is probably like a decent idea to look into in terms of generically simulating the slate over and over with the lineups that exist in that contest and finding out how frequently that lineup returns any money, what that ROI ends up being, individual player ROIs. There's a path there to try to get to an answer. I just don't know it yet. I tend to be a little bit more likely to avoid dupes. And again, the contest is going to depend pretty significantly. In a monstrous contest like the stuff that hit last night, I'm not entirely sure that many dupes is going to be worth it, but I really don't know the answer.
So in the $4, you said your lineup would have won it, right?
It would have won. It's not the optimal. I believe that there is one flip you could have made, but no one was really getting to it. Like 318.5 won the $20 last night, and that duped with 123 people.
Okay.
That's my cash lineup. That's what won the $20 last night.
And it's still,
I don't know if that's too many people or not, but I'll say this. There are people that have that lineup that I respect that played it and won, including people that I know care about dupes in a big way. I know it matters a lot to Brick. He is generally erring on lower dupes from everything that I've seen. I don't want to put words into his mouth or like assume it, but it's something that I thought that I have noticed looking through lineup study. He had this lineup. RBX88 had it. Our boy, who the hell keeps winning all the time?
Peter
Hanley. He had it. McLovin had it. Squirrel Patrol had it. So like, there are a lot of people that are getting to it and don't seem to care in that contest. So the threshold could be a payout thing. But I was surprised to see as many people in the 150 max having it, or they are also just not caring as much, which is also possible. Do you think
if you did an unadulterated crunch, right, with just projections, would that have been the top lineup that showed up for you?
Well, it was my optimal.
It was your optimal. Okay.
It was my optimal.
And that's just crunching with nothing but projections.
That is my raw highest fantasy points lineup I could have had yesterday.
Now, normally you would not play that in tournaments.
Not necessarily. I'd say that it's more likely that I'm not playing it in tournaments, but it's still coming down to my relationship between my optimal odds and public ownership. If public ownership just happens to be slightly lower, like if I'm higher on one of those guys, it can make the cut. In this case, it didn't. Okay. And in a 150 max, I assume that it did.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, there's only so many variations that are going to project even remotely decent, right? On a showdown. Oh, that wasn't a showdown slate. I'm sorry. That was a 2-gamer, but still.
I would guess that it was one of my top 150.
You would think so, for sure. We got a super chat too. Where is it? Michael Baker. Thanks to the two of you. I am new. I took first in the $20 and $4 DK contest last night. Turned 80 in the 2,500. Same lineup. Thanks for your help. Well, you did it yourself. You selected the lineup, but appreciate that, Michael. And thanks for watching, man. Congratulations. So, Josh, when we peruse the ownership projections here, Giannis and Durant are at the top. What's kind of interesting to me, right? And you can explain this to everybody. And you can check our ownership projections out at awesemo.com. You want to go to awesemo.com/join. You can do that as well. Check out all the offerings we have from Express Weekly, which is going to be pretty big coming up since all of our Showdown tools, ownership, projection, rankings, all of that is included in the Express Pass for NBA, less than $5 a week. But you can do all sports, one sport for the month. You want to make an investment, do it for the whole year. It doesn't matter. For the week, whatever it is, we got you covered. And if you want to do a week of Awesemo Plus Platinum, every single thing on the site, you get 15% off by using the promo code NBA Strategy. You're talking about the tools built by the #1 ranked DFS player out there, Alex Baker himself. Awesemo, used by him. He's won a ton of money playing them. Ownership, top stack, boom bust tool, optimal lineup percentage, lineup builder. The list goes on. All of our premium articles, you name it. So if you want to do the week, you want to check it out, and you want to get 15% off before making a bigger investment, NBA Strategy Show, all one word, all caps. I don't know why we do the all caps thing. I don't. We got to figure that out because people are going to get confused. And
it's
if you're
better
not
to do it in all caps than mixed case, though.
What?
Like if it has to be case sensitive, then having it be all caps is right.
Agreed. But I'm not saying it's on our end, like it's our fault about this. I'm saying it's crazy to me that I'm assuming that it has to be one or the other, right? So if that's the case, like why wouldn't there just be a way to not?
I think it's our back end thing that processes the coupon codes. I don't think it's in our hands. That's
what I mean. It's out of our control, but it's still weird that you wouldn't just be able to identify words, letters, I don't know. But if you're not ready to do any of that, player rankings for NBA are free today. Usually they're behind the paywall. Same with the MLB player rankings and the PGA golfer rankings. So check all of that out if you'd like. Okay, Josh, here's my question to you, right? On DraftKings, Giannis and Kevin Durant are both pulling massive ownership.
Yes.
And then you've got Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton at 3rd and 4th in projected ownership. Yes. Does that surprise you a little bit? Or is this an instance where people are just going to go Durant, Giannis, and then Holiday, or Durant, Giannis, and Middleton, and then close it out with Nick Claxton and Tyler Johnson and Bobby Portis and such, and then everyone's doing the exact same thing?
That's exactly what's happening. So you assume that Durant and Giannis are in every single lineup. We've got Holiday and Middleton essentially projected for 50% ownership apiece, which means like you're probably picking one of those two guys and then building out the rest of your lineup after that. I don't really have anything to say that I disagree with. I think that Drew is probably going slightly over-owned at captain, under-owned at flex. I think it's sort of the same story for Middleton, but they should both be in right around 50% ownership. When it comes to the top four guys, I don't think you're able to get all that creative. I think that it's as obvious as it can be, and there aren't many mechanisms to go different ways.
How many minutes are you giving to Tyler Johnson?
Well, is that the question we're getting into now? Like we're diving into how we think this is going to go?
I think we have to, yeah.
Anywhere between 0 and 38.
Because he only played 20. He only played 9 last game with Irving going out.
I went 28-20, Mike James, Tyler Johnson. I have absolutely no idea how that split ends up happening.
How many minutes are you giving to Bruce Brown in this one?
Not that many. I gave him 20.
Okay. So where does this distribution of minutes go to? Are you just assuming it goes everywhere?
So, well, I'll run through everything. I gave Mike James 28, Tyler Johnson 20, Durant at 42, obviously, Joe Harris at 38. If you want to make that 40, that's fine. But like, he's the only other functional piece of this. Jeff Green and Blake both at 30, Nick Claxton at 16, Landry Shamet at 16.
Okay. Should be fun.
And like very little confidence in Shamet, Claxton, Brown, Mike James.
So Durant last game would have played around 47.
Yeah.
If they didn't pull the starters, you can't project him for 47 and you don't need to. Like no. It doesn't matter what you project him at today, but he's going to play probably the whole game, if not sit for a minute or two. I guess, of course, that depends on what the score looks like. But Blake Griffin last game saw limited minutes, but at the same time, if you were to play like Johnson and Claxton with Durant, Giannis, and Holiday, Blake Griffin fits in there real nice. And you have to assume that he's going to have at least some involvement today with Kyrie Irving off the floor. Are you going back to 30 plus? I'm sorry, I missed your projection, a minute projection for Blake.
For Blake, 30.
30. That sounds about right. So really the question is, who do you like at the bottom? And it's not like who do you have projected for the most points, because it's just that's not a helpful question or answer at this point. But like, is it Tyler Johnson? Can we go to Nick Claxton and hope that he plays 13 minutes or again and has himself a decent enough game and can give us 1.5 or 2 fantasy points per minute? Like, what is the answer down there to not be? Let me hold on. Here's a better question, right? Here's a better question. Yeah. Have you crunched anything yet just to see what the optimal came up as?
Yes.
Okay. Let's work our way backwards and start there.
All right. My optimal right now is Giannis captain, Durant, Drew Holiday, Mike James, Jeff Green, Nick Claxton.
Okay. Four nets, $2.
Yes.
Sounds about right.
And then my second most optimal, just flip-flops Giannis and Durant at the captain spot.
Okay. Now, with that in mind, and that does seem like the most logical lineup there. Yeah. I guess too, you could ask yourself, like, how far do you have to go before you have Middleton in one of those?
Fifth.
What's that look like?
Giannis, Durant, Middleton, Mike James, Bobby Portis, Claxton.
So Bobby Portis over Jeff Green.
Yes.
Is the only difference there.
Yeah.
From the optimal. Okay.
Yeah. You need, so the drop off from Middleton to Holiday in salary is $800. The drop off from Claxton to Jeff Green is $800. So that is the literal swap.
So can you go to like Blake Griffin and a Holiday, Giannis, Durant lineup and just go super cheap, or does that not make any sense to you? Super cheap with the final 2 pieces.
Let's see. So optimal is at 257.4. If I filtered to Blake, you got to give up 6.5 points. Now, again, this is just my projection. Somebody could have a different setup here. But to make that swap, to get Blake in, Giannis, Durant, Holiday, Blake, you got to go Claxton, Tyler Johnson.
That's what I thought it would be. Yep. And that was the one I built just by hand right now, because it naturally funnels you to those 2 guys.
Yep.
That's a problem.
And I do think that those 2 guys are the best GPP plays you can find in this game. We have Claxton at 31% ownership. Based on where I have him right now, he shows up in the optimal lineup 49.5% of the time. That is a gigantic gap to me. Same for Tyler Johnson. We've got him projected for 16% ownership. I've got him at 38. Now, I'm not comfortable with that. I have no idea how many minutes Tyler Johnson is going to play. He's essentially not part of the rotation, and we're guessing to see what happens now that 2 of their stars are out. For anyone to think that they have an idea of how many minutes Tyler Johnson's going to play today is kind of crazy. But if he really is 16% owned, to me, that's a really easy spot to just save salary and hope you're right. You're also chopping with way less people if you're right.
I have another question for you. Is there merit to running Middleton or Holiday in the captain spot, still getting Durant and Giannis? Because it's not out of the realm of possibility that Holiday goes for 55 or 60. I mean, we've seen him do it plenty of times before. The likelihood that he does so isn't, as great as Giannis or specifically Durant doing it today without Irving or Harden. But does that, okay. So like, how about this? If you were to go Holiday, Durant, Giannis with Holiday in the captain spot, leaves you around $4,200 per player. If you were to go Durant in the captain and then Giannis and Holiday in the utility, it gives you $3,700 per player. So it's not a dramatic difference, but is that something that you'd be willing to entertain?
Yeah. So based on my stuff, 77% of the optimals have Durant or Giannis in the captain, which means basically 1 out of every 4 days you're getting somebody else.
Right.
Not crazy to me. With Holiday and Middleton being the very obvious next potential options. What would
it be with the 4 of those guys in it? Anyone else? What would the percentage chance be that one of those 4 is not in the optimal? Or sorry, not captain.
So my total is 93% Durant, Giannis, Drew, Middleton as the captain for today.
Okay.
By the way, if you get that 1 in 7 or the 7% chance that it's not him today, congratulations. You're not chopping with a lot of people.
No, you're winning because you're naturally just going to plug in all of the other expensive guys and it's probably going to work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, whenever you have like a slight pay down option at captain, unless it's one of those broken slates where, like we find out Boban's starting and he's $800 or something stupid and he ends up getting crazy ownership. More often than not, if you're not taking one of the stars and that person in your captain spot ends up being the optimal captain, the amount of people that you can chop with is very, very minimal.
Oh, for sure.
We're talking about like guys that are generally 2% owned in that spot, which means there's only 2% of all of the lineups that even have him there and then get to that combination is really, really hard.
And right now, Holiday captain spot ownership's around 10%. Middleton's around 8%. So pretty big drop off from Giannis and Durant, and for good reason. I mean, it's understandable. Yep. But I do think if I'm going to try and do anything different, I always ask myself this question, like, can this guy get you this much? Like, does he have the ceiling, right? And that's what you're running all the time anyway, just looking at the optimal lineup percentage. And Holiday can. Holiday can do that. Middleton can do that too. So that might be one way to mix it up a little bit. Before we close this out, a little bit of FanDuel strategy here for anyone that's curious. I know it's a lot different. You're just looking for raw scoring, but how do you approach it on FanDuel differently than DraftKings today?
So obviously Kevin Durant and Giannis are going to be in basically everything. We can go back to that Jokic discussion we had a couple of days ago, but I don't think it's useful here. I've got Durant and Giannis in the optimal like 90% of the time. That's where the ownership is. Giannis is basically in it every single time. I can't even say anything about their MVP odds all that much. Like we've got Durant projected for 38% ownership in the MVP and Giannis at 53. So 91% of the time, one of those two guys is the highest scorer on the slate. I don't think that that's shocking to anybody at all. I've got Durant and Giannis like 20 points ahead of Drew Holiday at third. So there's that. Where I think it gets interesting is that we project Durant and Giannis to show up in the utility spot. Giannis at 9%, Kevin Durant at 16. I would never play one of those two guys there given that ownership. To me, that's the easiest way that you can make a slight change here. Do not play those guys in the utility. It is a utter mistake. Very big problem.
Okay.
Best I can say for those two guys. Now, when we start talking about everybody else, I think Joe Harris looks pretty good for Brooklyn. I think he's going pretty underowned. Tyler Johnson doesn't have the same sort of appeal on FanDuel at 7K that he does at a 2K price tag on DraftKings, but I do think that he's going a little bit underowned. And then on the Milwaukee side, if you're looking for one of the non-legitimate guys, because clearly everybody understands to play Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, there's not a lot to like. Like Pat Connaughton's projected for 13% ownership. I think that's about right. I'm not all that interested in Tucker or Brook Lopez. Like Brook Lopez is just too expensive. So to me, the pay down options that you're looking for are coming from Brooklyn today, not Milwaukee. And you're probably just running a lot of Giannis plus one of the other two main guys, if not both.
Okay. Sold up with the super chat. Favorite prize picks for NBA today. I love prize picks. I haven't looked at that at all, but I can assure you that I'll have some props loaded in the hopper for the deeper dive tonight. 7:30, live before lock I'm doing because we don't have a deeper dive anymore. 7:30. Yeah. Late one today, but we'll be there for it. MLB live before lock and deeper dive prior to that. We got a ton of stuff coming up on YouTube today. Before we wrap this up, hit that thumbs up too. If you haven't done so, what are we at? 109, 342 watching. Not a bad ratio, but I think we can boost that more. If you came in and you just simply forgot, I'll take your word for it. But hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so and subscribe to the channel. Josh, let's hit on the Hall of Fame. I saw a ton of things come in yesterday. I woke up this morning and my timeline was just loaded with wins. So Jordan, kick this off, play that music, turn it up a little bit louder than usual because it's usually a little bit too low there, and make it happen. So first one up, Rick Durkin. Are we putting this up there? Are we going? There we go. I guess it's Peter Hanley. Maybe I didn't refresh. I don't know. Winner, chicken dinner McGee is the key. Even a little NASCAR. Dude, this guy just wins all the time.
Yeah, kind of bumming me out. I'm jelly. I need to talk to this man on the back end.
I don't know how he does it, but it's nice to see. Jordan, just keep flipping these because the PowerPoint's not right here. And awesome, yo. Oh, he had another good one, huh? This is our buddy. Big weekend with the birth of my first niece, so a little time for research. Relied on Awesemo NBA Show for the edge. They got me there, but more importantly, Shannon Show and Awesemo DFS got me there. More importantly, I finally got EMAC 2024 campaign, the Bink mode for the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Congratulations to you, man. Yeah, that's the greatest avatar out there. Justin spent too much time racking up satellite entries, then went on a losing streak, trying to rebuild my bankroll in the FanDuel quarter bets. Well, that's a good start. Look, you got to play it smart with the bankroll. Racking up satellites and trying for qualifiers can be a deadly venture.
Yeah, decent job turning a quarter into $96.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Drew Gibberish with the $1,300 win as well. Hey, Awesemo, I'm back. Literally hand-building lineups, listening to you guys daily, consistently profiting, good looks. You guys wonder why we do this. First, we love to brag for everybody that rocks these avatars. But second, you get a free month of Awesemo Plus. Everything on the site that I talked about earlier. All you got to do is finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and download the Awesemo avatar. Make sure you have that avatar so everybody sees it, including yourself, including us, so we can throw it up here. Awesemo.com/avatar. Tweet us at Awesemo HOF, Awesemo Hall of Fame. Include Josh and myself in it as well when you get that win, or you just want to brag about a win. We're happy to throw them up there as well. Yeah. Last one. I hold my own. Appreciate the show this morning. Alex, he was right for fading Brown call, even though Monty missed the last free throws and cost me #1 spot. I will take second all day. Absolutely, man. Good stuff. That's Awesemo Hall of Fame. Josh, that'll do it for us. The Process Show. Any day we have 2 games. I believe we still have 1 or 2 more of those with the. We're
back tomorrow, and then we will be back on Friday. So long as both. They're both at 2-2 tomorrow, right? Yeah. We'll be back on Friday then too. So we're definitely going Wednesday, Friday for Process shows this week.
All right. Which means the Strategy Show. We'll have 2 games on those days as well. That's exciting stuff. This is the Strategy Show presented by No House Advantage. We'll catch you back here later. And be sure to check out PGA content, MLB Strategy Show coming up right now on the other channel, coming up at 11, as a matter of fact. I'm surprised we're actually under. We came in 6 minutes under. How about that? Not bad.
I'm proud of us, man. We've come a long way.
I'm going to go watch some Hoarders. We'll see you back here soon.